when you finally took that uniform off, you know you're going home to be with your family and with your wife and raise your son. What's that feeling like? What was that like? Saying that I'm done, man. I'm in. Like you all can't see this, but Sean's got long hair. He's a surfer-looking dude. He's got a flowered shirt on. You know, he's relaxing, all calm. So, but before you got to this state,
so when I retired, it was a weird period, right? So I retired. I came back in when we came back in January, February of 2020. I went into leave, and I was starting to kind of work the process of medical and all that kind of stuff for my retirement and this that. And on March 14th, I was at the Players, the TPC Players Championship on Thursday, and my friend just got VIP tickets. We're hanging out in there, and it was the only day of the Players Championship that year that people were allowed on the course, because the next day COVID hit, and everything stopped.
Yep.
There was nobody at the Players Championship, and it just changed everything. So I couldn't do my medical as easy. Everything changed. So it didn't have that natural progression that you normally have, because now you're stuck in COVID. So it was a weird period. You know, everybody's stuck, so everybody drinks a lot and hang out at the house and blah, blah, blah. You know, so it didn't have a whole lot of time. It was suddenly the world stopped. And what really kind of bothered me about all that was that I just came from a location that you're pretty secured and you're limited on your access to freedom of movement, unless you're doing operational pieces and stuff like that. And now suddenly I'm stuck in the same thing back home. I can't go down to the coffee shop. I can't go do this. I can't do this. Now I'm stuck back in that. And I came home that I wanted that freedom of movement, but I wouldn't allow it, and I couldn't have it. And so it was a weird kind of transition to come back to that and that COVID
how long did that take to get through that?
It took a little while. I'm probably still going through it right now, but
yeah, I know,
you
right?
know?
Okay, well, how long did it take to kind of get to where you can handle it?
It didn't take that long. You know, it's kind of hard because you think about the COVID days. It was just kind of a blip now. You know, it's like, does this really happen?
Yeah.
Kind of period. But it didn't take too long. But your mentality goes up and down, just trying to figure things out. And we talked about, you know, passion and relevancy, kind of thing. And so trying to find your next thing, right? And you got to try things. If you don't try things, and you don't know what the next door is that you're actually supposed to go through to finding your way, you know. And I ran for mayor. You know, I ran for mayor of Atlantic Beach, Florida. You know, I didn't win. It was like 60 days out from probably a little more than 60 days out from the actual election. You know, and a lot of people had backed me up and to go do this. And man, we built a campaign fast. Me and my buddy built it. A friend of mine, David. Never been a campaign manager before, and we kind of figured things out and we rolled with it, you know. And it was nonpartisan, but there was 3 people running. I was kind of like the loose goose, generally speaking, you know. It was a left and a right, and I lean right, but I was trying to come down the middle and kind of pull from both sides, you know, being a common sense kind of thing. And it was very interesting. I didn't win for good reasons, and there were other family issues too that kind of built behind that. And so you have to make it, hey, Sean, you committed to retire to focus on your family, and now suddenly you're being selfish again. You're running for mayor, and now you're not thinking about your family. And that became up a couple times. And that's smart. And I go, no, you're right, honey. You're right. And I've kind of lost that point.
So it was actually a good thing you lost.
It did.
It allowed you to go back to the main reason you retired.
Exactly.
Right? So now transitioning that, so Irish through and through, pretty much. Mom and Dad came from Ireland.
Born and raised in Ireland.
How does this guy with this Irish background think about making mezcal in Mexico, sleeping out in the fields with all these folks, and becoming a junior mezcalero? Okay,
Yes.
how'd that come about?
It you know, it was the focus was, again, we talk about family, right? So I'm 53 now, retired at 50. It was that focus of going, I've earned, in my life and experience, I've earned the right to sit down and have a good quality drink. Quality, right? Without taking myself 4 or 5 steps backwards. I was drinking a lot of bourbon, Irish whiskeys, IPAs, and I could feel it on my gut health. I could feel it changing who I was, you know. And I probably drank too much. There's 1 or 2, but when you're drinking 6 a night, old fashioned and stuff like that, it changes you dynamically, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I kind of figured out, hey, again, selfish, right? I gotta step back, open your aperture. What am I doing this for? My son, my family. I had to shift gears, and I thought shifting gears would be go to focus on tequilas. You know, so I focused on tequilas to get away more gut health and get away from the browns, some of that, and focused on gut health, not Latin people.
Well,
I'll say something later.
hey, let me interrupt. There's a common theme here, right? So I was told once that you guys are A to B people,
Yeah,
and that's what we're talking about, right?
Right.
You need to get from A to B.
right.
You need something to get you from A to B because that's what you were trained, right? 31 years,
Yeah,
right? That makes,
yep, you're right.
and it got you into this program. So second part of this is not only do you go down there, and folks, hopefully you see a picture of Sean. He really does look like a surfing dude. Like he's about 2 blocks away from the beach and he's ready to go.
I do surf.
And he does surf. He's a surfer. He actually teaches folks how to surf, young kids. And he went down into Mexico, into the fields. And tell us about that. He became a mezcalero in training.
In training, an apprentice in a way. So developing the tequila side of the house, I fell in love. Well, and mezcal found me, and it was kind of based on when you come from a community of quality, right? You're always looking for quality, right? You're always pushing the envelope,
Right.
looking for quality, kind of thing. In a world of convenience and people were skipping steps left and right, I just was turned off by all that. But when I went down, my final piece of engagement to decide that I'm going to create my own label and do this mezcal thing, besides the gut health and all that kind of stuff, was when I went down and saw the process and I met the Maestro Mezcalero way out in a small town of Mitla outside of Oaxaca City. The 6 generations deep, and it was quality. They didn't skip any steps. There was
Right.
no machines used. All done by hand, artisanal. And they didn't skip steps to please someone to make a timeline.
Right.
This is how it's done. This is how we do it.
We're not
And that's how you
changing
get
it.
it, kind of thing.
Right.
Exactly. And I fell in love with the quality of that effort right there. And that was the final piece for me going, I want to be in this. How am I going to do
So
this?
how has that helped you with your PTSD? Because I know you were diagnosed with that, right? Or,
Yeah.
And you took the Okana and Agave brand, which I'm gonna let you talk more about that.
Yeah.
How's that helping with that?
It is. It keeps me focused. But what I really love about it goes back to the unconventional part of my whole life. And this is an unconventional way I'm doing it. And it's unconventional in the tequila agave world. It's considered an unconventional liquor, compared to the refined
Right.
element of tequila. This is an unconventional, done out in the fields. There's no fancy machines and fancy things like that, And that's what drew me, and that's what helps dial me in to be able to maneuver these waters. I don't like things just handed to me in a row. It doesn't work for me. I have to be able to, I have a good scheme of maneuver,
Yep.
and then I can adjust as I need to understand things. And I'm learning. And that's what a lot of people, I think, in this business have come to find about me, is that, hey, Sean's learning, and he's a sponge, and we love that for that. He doesn't come in with scars of, this is how you do it, blah, blah, blah. I go, nah, not that way at all.
So tell us how the name came about.
So Okahan is actually Gaelic, Irish, for my last name, Keane, and that's where Okahan comes from. Okahan is a warrior tribe
Nice.
in Gaelic.
Fitting. Yeah.
And my wife actually came with it. So I have Okahan stuff in the house here and there, and but she came with, hey, how about Okahan agave? And it just rolled nice. Okahan agave rolled nice off that one. And that's what kind of drew me into it. So it brings that Mexican and Irish spirits together. Because if you really look at the similarities between the Irish and the Mexican, it's very, very similar. And the Irish have a deep history, actually, in Mexican history. If you start looking up how a lot of the Irish from the U.S., because of almost like they were being held against them because they were Irish,
Yep.
they went to Mexico and actually were in the Mexican army and this kind of stuff like that. So there's a lot of history of Irish in Mexico. And I just thought that how the drinker were both drinkers,
Right.
and how they manage and how they do things and hard workers. And I just and I love that. I brought it
Well,
on.
I can tell you, folks, I've sampled the 3 or 4 different brands that Sean's put together, and I've never tasted mezcal, but I love this stuff. And he puts like a little old-fashioned cherry in there that makes it just great. But I mean, very smooth, very good. So, Sean, the big question is, when are we going to be able to get this stuff? Where are we going to find it potentially, and what are you looking at for a launch date?
That's a good question, and it's all this plan is still all a work in progress, and that's where I've gonna have small batch, and again, it's small batch, 1,200
Right,
bottles, and it's
right.
broken down to 4 different styles.
And by the way, we got our bottle, just saying.
And so we got the so it's gonna be here in Florida, about 1,200 bottles, and then I'm kind of looking at where's that small footprint gonna be.
Yeah.
It's the footprint of keeping it in North Florida and then possibly Texas.
Yep.
And kind of developing that. So people are asking, how can I get it online? We're trying to get that, trying to figure that out, and how do people, because we have a lot of friends all over the country, everywhere. that want a bottle and be involved with this, and so that's me still trying to figure out, it's going to get to everybody, just kind of figuring that whole thing out.
So what's your website? Where do they need to go?
Well, it would be www.okahanagave.com, which would be, Okahan is OKAHAN agave.com.
Agave.com. Very good.
See me on Facebook and Instagram. One of the key things I wanted to do all this was start building a social media buzz. And so I'm not a social media person. I am now
You are.
because of the brand. You have
Yep.
to be,
Yep.
So I'm out there on Instagram and Facebook and people watching my reels of who is this gringo, blonde hair, 6 foot curly haired gringo working agave fields.
Right.
And it's not a celebrity thing when you walk in for 5 minutes. They're like, this guy's actually working in the fields and working the whole distillation process. Exactly, because I have to earn the trust of the Mezcalero, the Maestro Mezcalero, and all of the people who are working down in the Palenque and then in the Pueblo. So they appreciate me and understand me, and then I appreciate what they do.
Absolutely.
And be accepted into that community.
Yeah, that's great. So last question. So you've done this, you found a way to help you transition out. One piece of advice to wrap up. What would you say to the veterans that are out there that just, give them a quick synopsis of how do you go about this? Where do you go?
I think my greatest piece of advice to anybody coming out is expectation management.
Okay.
It is true. Where you came from, depending on what your position was in the military rank-wise, there's always a structure of understanding, and people knew their job and how to do their job. Today's military may be different, I don't know, but where I come from was that, hey, you did your job without any questions about it. I find that people out here, they overpromise and underdeliver. We're in the military, we're trying to be the opposite. We underpromise and overdeliver. A lot of stuff we do. So when you come out there, don't expect that, hey, when people say they're going to do something, they're actually going to do it. And understand, though, that comes back on you. That was the Reagan saying, and they said he stole it from the Soviets, who say, trust but verify.
Trust but verify.
Because it's on you.
Yeah.
It's on you.
Yeah.
And for me, and my name is everything I have, right? In the military, especially in special operations, your reputation and your name is everything. Because that's going to follow you to get on team to certain things in life. That's why my name's on this bottle. It's everything for me. So that represents me. And people don't realize that. It's because out here, not necessarily because their name's on it, doesn't mean they're going to follow through with things or their reputation. Right. So again, it goes back to
it's like taking ownership of what you've got, not waiting for things to get done.
Yeah.
Sean, thank you for coming in today. We really appreciate it. Folks, go to his website. I'm telling you, that's good stuff. It should be here in about a month and 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks.
Roughly, it could be sooner or later. It just, it's I was told down in Mexico when I was working, and they said, hey, Sean, you're on, literally from my Maestro Mezcalero, you're on Mexican time. Slow it down.
Yeah, right?
Got it.
Take a little bit of time, get that siesta in, right?
They didn't do any siestas.
No siestas? No?
I was so shocked. I was like, I thought we did siestas. I think it was an English thing. I think it's an American thing.
Yeah. Not here, right? Hey, thanks for joining us on the Will of Iron podcast. Together, we can make a difference in the lives of veterans and their families. To learn more about our mission, explore resources, or support our programs, visit willofironforvets.org. Thank you.
So you nailed that.
Nailed it,
Shout out
Jen.
again.
Huh?